I'm from Oakland. So Oakland's about 400,000 people, one of the most diverse cities in the country. We have about 80 different languages spoken there. So if you're looking for any kind of food, it's kind of the place to be. Oakland's had its bad raps in the past. It's in the previous years, it's always kind of been like the underdog, San Francisco, which anything next to San Francisco kind of looks like an underdog. What it is though is San Francisco is a beautiful place, or Oakland's a beautiful place. In the hills, we've got all sorts of different things, people, cultures, and everything going on there. And so back in 2008, I had the ability to stop working, which was awesome for me. And I started doing a lot of nonprofit work in and around Oakland. So currently I do, I've actually spoken to a bunch of clubs before in the past. I've done work for Habitat. I've done special projects for the food bank. I do Red Cross disaster assistance. So just last week I was actually in Santa Cruz, California, dealing with the fires that were going on there, opening shelters and stuff. And I also started a nonprofit called Run for Vedock Oakland, RVO is what we call it. So what we did was, back in 2008 when I stopped working, I lived in Oakland. I thought it was a great place. It just wasn't there yet, in a sense. And so one day when I was biking up in the hills, I decided that the city needed a marathon because it's a very outdoor city, but it just was always overlooked. So fortunate for me, I called the city and they said, we just had a guy in here asking the same question. That guy happened to be moving from Baltimore and he was with an actual running company and they were looking to put on a marathon. So helping that gentleman, we actually started the first Oakland Running Festival in 2010. Which was a big deal for the city, and we ran it all through the city, which was pretty cool, all through every different type of neighborhood that there is. With that, I wanted to get Oakland kids on Oakland streets. So we had this tagline, putting kids back on the streets. Oakland, especially in some of the rougher parts, kids cannot get out. They are kind of tied to their neighborhoods with the crime and different things that happen. And so our idea was to get these kids out. So in the last 10 years, we've had probably 1,500 kids that we have trained for either a half marathon or a 5K. What we did is I created a nonprofit. I recruited a bunch of friends. That has evolved over the years, obviously. I was the executive director to start with. Now I'm just a founder, which is great because I don't have to go to meetings anymore, which is awesome for me. But the idea was we wanted to take these kids, train them every Saturday. We had this lake in the middle of Oakland. It's about 3 miles around where everybody is at every weekend while walking around the lake. And so we took all these kids, we kind of dragged them out there, convincing them through the teachers and different schools and whatever to come run a half marathon or 5K. So first of all, the hardest thing I've ever had to sell is selling a half marathon to a high school kid, which, is pretty tough. But we've had kids come in, and the idea is we team them up with mentors, and they start running the lake. So we put this program together. We put all our kids in these, we're all color coded. So we put all these kids in bright yellow shirts so we can see them around the lake. Again, not the safest place sometimes to have a bunch of kids running. Our volunteers are in blue, our coaches are in orange, and so we can track everybody. And they gather every week. We stretch them, we give motivational talks, we do health and fitness and different things. Sometimes we'll bring in the mayor, sometimes we bring in police officers. We've brought in marathoners and Olympians, and they come and give kind of what we call 5 good minutes of a little bit of a motivational speech. And then these kids go out every week and run a little bit farther, and a little bit farther, and a little bit farther until they are ready for a half marathon for the Oakland Running Festival. The purpose of this is we do not go out and recruit like the fastest kids in Oakland. We're not looking for track stars. We're looking for the kids that never thought they could do something. We're looking for the kids that might be overweight or might, be coming from a tough family. We put them with these mentors. It takes a couple weeks for them to start opening up, but when you start running with someone for miles and miles and miles, kids start opening up and they start building relationships, and that's where our mentoring comes in. And so what has been great is these kids do something that they thought was impossible, and that's running a half marathon. I can't tell you, we go through a whole season, which is 7 months of training, usually at the beginning of school. I'm sorry, after Christmas for the spring, and now we have a fall season also. But what we do is these kids come out, they train, they run, they build these relationships. We push them farther than they've ever been pushed. They go home, they complain, they're like, why are we coming out here? This is the dumbest thing I've ever done. You guys are idiots, we've heard it all. And yet, some of the toughest kids that we've had to deal with come back. So we think the kid quit, the next week, she is again, or he. And we're like, oh, that's weird. Next week, they, bitch and moan, whatever, they come back. And so what we do is we're providing some type of discipline and background for them, which a lot of kids don't have in Oakland. Their parents are working, there's a lot of tough stories out there. And so our job is to, if they can achieve this, then hopefully they can achieve something else. They can achieve a hard calculus test. They can think about going to college. They can do different things that they maybe thought they could not do. And that's the purpose of the whole thing. I have seen kids come across that I thought was the toughest kid in Oakland cry. I mean, the finish line, by the way, best part of the whole thing. So if I'm anywhere on the day, after we run all over the place, at the end, I want to be at the finish line because you don't know what you're going to get with each kid. There's kids that look like they're in shock. There's kids that start crying. There's kids that are overjoyed. There's kids that just keep on running. Really stop them. The euphoria. And so what I have to explain this every year, and we try to motivate them is that. I don't know if anyone's ever done a race or any kind of thing, even a long walk or some kind of thing where you put a number on and you go out and do it and you get your medal. That 5 seconds after you cross that finish line is something you cannot explain. And that's what we want them to feel, is that euphoria of, oh my gosh, I did something hard and I accomplished it.
Unless you're throwing up.
What's that?
Unless you're throwing up.
Yeah. We've seen that too. So we've seen it all at the end. But and so what we do is we do a K through 12 program. A lot of what we have 3 groups of kids. We have our littles, which are the kindergartners, first graders, second grades, and they do 5K. We have our middle kids, which are usually up to 5th grade to 8th grade and such, and sometimes high schoolers. And they do the 5K also, but we separate them and they train differently. And then we usually have most of our high school kids do the half marathon. And what we have found is, what we've evolved over the years is, with this organization, I set it up so it's community-based. So I don't have say, basically. I don't want to have say. I want it to be Oakland's nonprofit. I've seen nonprofits, and I've been in all sorts of different types of nonprofits that are really good and really bad. And the purpose is to put most of the money to the kids. We provide shoes, we provide shirts, we provide food, meals, before and after workouts. We get a lot of donations, sports bras. We've had different health talks with just the girls and just the guys, different things we're running. And so we build that up. Now what we've seen, which has been in the last 10 years, is we're starting to see families come out. So we see a 5th grader with dad, who looks like he's never ran a step in his life, and he's there, and he's gonna do it. And he's chugging away, and then we see mom show up, and then somebody else. And so it's almost turned into a family-ish type program now. And we try to provide free entry for everybody, free everything for all of them, as long as they commit to doing the program and finishing. We have also evolved into scholarships. So this last year we gave $17,000 away in scholarships. We don't care. I have this motto for my own kids too. Any college is good college. I don't care. Like Harvard, whatever. I went to Kansas. Hey, I'm doing okay. Like I don't care. Just go to college, community college, any college. So if they are going somewhere, we're going to give them some type of scholarship. And I think even last year we might have thrown in laptops too, if we had enough funding for it. But that's the idea of the program. And so we're going into our 11th year now. COVID killed the race this year, which was the first time in 10 years. Our kids trained all the way up to 12 miles, and then the next week it hit, and that was it. They didn't get to finish. We still gave scholarships, of course, because these kids worked so hard. Some of them, a lot of them were so disappointed that they weren't going to have that big moment, and we were kind of sad for them too. So this year we're trying to do virtual for the first semester. We've got, I think 60 kids signed up so far, and they're going to try and do this whole virtual program. And these kids are going to try and run on their own, or mentors are going to try and go meet with them and run in different places around Oakland and whatnot. So, but that's our program. That's basically what we're doing, and hopefully it continues to grow. I've always looked for other cities and different places. Our deal is looking for other runners. I'm a runner. We're a pretty passionate group. I can tell you 10 different ways that running is so awesome and great and whatever. And so we're starting to look out and look for different places and different cities and whatnot to see if other cities want to start coming in. Usually it just takes one runner who knows another runner who knows another runner. And then when you know it, one of them's a teacher or one of them's a vice principal or something, and then we have access to kids, and then the kids start getting recruited, just like you've been recruited. And that's how we grow the program. And then word of mouth too. Because the other thing that I never realized was all these kids go to school the next day with a medal sign. All of them. Which I would think, oh, that's not important. You know, Oakland, it's a tough place. And they walk around with that medal, and kids are like, what's that? How'd you get that? And then that's how we find other kids. Best part of the whole thing, the other best part is a lot of these kids come back. So if they're in college, they'll come back and run with us. I've got kids now that have graduated that come back and will run with us from time to time. That's the coolest thing, kind of, because it just means I'm getting older. And you know, I saw them when they were this tall, and then every year they get taller, and then they're all taller than me at some point. But it's nice to see them grow and then become real people, and then they continue on using it to be a motivation for their life and for other things. So.